What's up, everyone? It is Friday. You made it. Hopefully, it's Good Friday. Maybe some of you had the day off and you're joining us from a nice, restful day. But for any of you who are still working or maybe catching the replay later, I hope you had a wonderful week this week and relax. Kick back, let's learn a little bit, and let's have some fun. We have some awesome guests joining us today. I'm super excited. I'm going to bring them on with me. Please say hello to Jesse Ouellette and Topher Evans. We learned how to pronounce Jesse's name correctly. Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Hey, Lauren. Great to
Awesome.
be on the show.
Thank you for joining me today. So, as usual, everyone, please ask your questions in the chat. These two are a wealth of knowledge. Jesse can, I mean, I'm biased, but I think Jesse can almost do anything. So if you have a question, ask Jesse. He's very much like my motto. If I can't, my network can. If Jesse can't figure it out, he's putting you in touch with the right person and he's getting it done for you. So Jesse's the one to follow. Topher is a kick-ass account executive. Every time he messages me with one of his wins, I'm literally cheering. I'm so impressed every time. Topher, you're freaking killing it. Jesse, I'm just so excited about this show. We're going to get into it, but first I want you both to do a little introduction. So maybe, let's see, Topher, you want to go first?
Sure. So my name is Topher Evans. I'm an account executive at Sync Systems. What Sync Systems does is we're an accounting and management software based in the cloud for association management. So your HOAs and COAs. I also spend a lot of time going back and forth on dark social channels, and we'll talk on that as well. And I'm always here to help with whatever I can.
And really, always here to help. He means that. All right, Jesse, your turn. Let's learn about Jesse.
Hey, Lauren. Great to be on the show. Jesse Ouellette, a SaaS founder, Lead Magic. I wanted to just talk about getting back to the primary inbox. We have a lot of customers that we help on email, and we also have a product very similar to like Lead Feeder or Clearbit Reveal, where we help tell you who's on your website. So bootstrap SaaS, profitable, proud of it. We've kind of built it up that way, and that's our game here.
Profitable, keyword. Killing it. All right, we got a lot of people joining us. So let's see. Let's just say hello really quick. Danny Lou in the house. We got Alexa, Tanya. I think y'all know some of these people.
Yeah.
Alexa's in the ship. We'll talk about that later. Mark's local. He lives near me. Topher's commenting on our own show. Love that. I'm not that technical. I cannot go comment on the other page and still pay attention. So it's not that I'm ignoring y'all. I just literally can't. We got Brandy, the bomb. Have you guys had the bomb, Topher?
Not yet.
Brandy.
Okay. Brandy, the bomb. Let's go. What do we need to do to make this a real business overnight? We all want it. I'm already buying her granola because I'm obsessed. We got Joel in the house. Jim Thorpe. Hello, Jim. We got Rhonda, Tanya, Dean. Dean was on Whiskey Wednesday the other night. I think he was one of the winners. And we got Elizabeth. Thank you all for joining us. If you haven't commented, comment down below. Let us know you're here. That's the only way we know that you're watching and you actually give a shit about what we're talking about. So with that, let's jump right into it. I'm super excited. This is important. Half of you end up in my spam folder all the time. So you're just wasting your own time. So today we're going to talk about getting to the primary inbox. Why is it important? One, what's happening if you're not getting to the primary inbox? Okay, Jesse's going to take us off. So let me pull Jesse up. Jesse, let's go.
Yeah, there's just a lot of misinformation out there right now. I think what's happening is salespeople are still sending a lot of emails. It started, I saw this thing happening about 2.5, 3 years ago. And I don't know how I woke up one day and I was sort of one of the experts on this one topic, but companies are spending a ton of money on data and they're spending a ton of money on email sequencers. And quite frankly, the behavior of the emails, it's pretty obvious when it's being sent from a salesperson. So it's getting picked up by spam and getting blocked. But when I talk to people about this, some people are still in denial here. They're still talking about like their open rates or click rates or some other sort of metric that isn't really relevant. And they just aren't getting any results out of it. They're not mixing, they're mixing numbers together. And then on top of that, you're actually blocking the rest of your company from sending emails, which is kind of the now more crazy part. And then it's even spilling over and getting you locked up in Google jail. So there's some ways to get around it. Obviously, you've got to kind of start by just stop, like you got to stop doing it, right? And then you got to go towards a multiple domain name strategy and start doing some things there. You can call us if you need some help there. But I think the saddest part about it, though, is and I won't name any companies, but I think there's some big SaaS vendors that are selling you these technologies, and they're not really. I mean, they probably know, right? Like, we're not stupid. We probably know, and it's pretty obvious that they're not investing here anymore. Yet you probably bought their products based on this functionality working. Like, you clearly want it, so you would really love some guidance from them, but they'll avoid the topics. And then on top of that, your analysts aren't even talking about it. You look at like the Wave report, you look at any of them, none of them even mention email delivery. So it's more bad information followed by more bad information by other kind of sales gurus or LinkedIn influencer type people. And that's what's happening. I mean, it's just bad information chasing more bad information, and people spending a lot of money wasting jobs because people are getting laid off and fired because inefficiencies. But that's my rant on that one.
I don't necessarily think it's a rant. I think it's really important information that people need to learn about. And most of us just put our head in the sand, right? Would you say that, Topher? Like, a lot of people are just kind of putting their head in the sand?
Absolutely. I mean, they don't want to look at it potentially being a problem until it is in fact a problem, when the CEO's email can't go through to a prospect because the domain's blocked. Like, it's not just your SDR force that's sending out thousands of emails a day or whatever it is. It's hurting. If you're sending from one domain and that's how they're attacking it, your customer service reps can't get back in touch with your current clients. Your CFO can't dispute an invoice. There's so many different things that can trickle down from that. And so I'm a recent promotion, but I was running an SDR team. And after having conversations with people like Jesse and reading up on it and understanding it, we're looking and moving towards a multi-domain. But for now, we just changed our messaging to what it should be when we switch to a multi-domain. So it's shorter. When I first started, I was writing War and Peace novels with documents attached and links and all the things. You shouldn't have to scroll on your iPhone to read any of my emails anymore. I keep it to about that size screen, and I pay attention to it. And we've worked with the rest of our SDR team on how we do it. The longer emails can go out through marketing, and they've got the people who've opted in for that. But our cold outreach, we keep it short and simple, and it's been effective. Our team broke every record last year that the previous outsourced SDR team had done. And it's because we followed advice like this. We got it done.
And the other thing I like, Topher just pointed out, if you are watching this show, the most important thing Topher just said was he followed the advice. I can't tell you how many people I talk to who do not follow the advice they're given. Why do you even show up for the advice? All right, Jesse, really quick, I want you to talk about all these people who are watching with these fancy ass signatures in their email with links and pictures and all of this stuff. What's happening to them?
Well, it's actually the starting point to getting everybody fired, really. I mean, your HR team will hand you a signature, and in that signature, it's been rerouted 3 times through 3 different retargeting pixels, and just basically violates every rule that a spam filter would look for. And you'll get forced to kind of put it on your signature, and that's why it's been the best thing to happen in my life. That's where I left Big SaaS. I disagreed. I did not want to put the signature on my email. And that didn't go so well. So for them, because they lost a good employee. But anyways, the point is that if you put a lot of links and signature and images, you're going to take reputation on of all of that. And that HTML and all the stuff that it takes to generate one of those sort of signatures, those kind of like bizarro. I mean, I had somebody try to test an email the other day, and they had a picture of like their entire family in the. I mean, I get it, but it was hosted on a bad server. It was a free service provider. I know it was a little. I thought it was a little. I was like, I love your family, man, but like, is this going to help at all? Are you like, focus a little bit here, man. This is going to take some focus to get this right. So you're going to need to remove it. So
That's how I
you
feel
know, and I'm
about
not the
couple
fun police
pictures
here. I'm
too.
really not. I think I'm part of the fun actually. So, but anyways, you got to remove that stuff, and you got to stop hosting it at other places where you don't know what the reputation of that is, and there's so many things wrong with it. If you're truly trying to convert somebody on email into a sales process or a sort of an event or whatever it is, just take the stuff out of your email. It's not worth it.
Take it out of your email. It's not going to do you any good. It's going to hurt you. And what happens, Jesse, once something is marked as spam? Like what happens then?
Yeah, the biggest problem right now, actually, if you really want to know, because like I get it all the time, it's a health plan, really, what you need to fix, but it's these complaints. So the actual complaint itself is what's going to hurt you the most. So when somebody hits report as spam, that button, that's the most toxic thing that can happen to you, because your domain can't sustain very many of those before it's completely blocked, like across all of. Remember, there's really only two people there's two companies that really get to control the email on the internet, right? There's Google and there's Microsoft, right? Those are the two companies. And I think where the misinformation comes from is like, people think that just because it got delivered or whatever they put in the product or opened or whatever, it means it's somebody read it and is thinking about responding. Totally not the truth, right? So that doesn't mean anything. And the complaints are where people start to get blocked more. And what they get is they might get a bunch of opens, but it's all in spam. So you're like, well, how are they opening it if it's in spam? Because there was a bot that clicked on that image for the company to save the privacy, because the same file, the same image, like pixel that they clicked on, actually it was just something that they needed to click on with a bot, and Apple is protecting the privacy of the user, because that's how all of the ads work. They all work on that pixel. So that's what's going on, and people are like realizing I saw another one today, and these are companies that actually sell sequencer products. I saw one today. It was like, here's some 10 tricks to improve your open rate, and I'm like, just email everybody with an Apple phone, but you'll get 100% opens that has privacy on. But what's the point of that? They're not going to be reading the email. Like, I don't understand what they're trying to solve. There's so many like things people are trying to do on email. And it's like, it's technology that was created in this, early 70s, late 60s. Stop trying to over engineer it, right? It really just needs to be direct. It needs to be like a text message. Lavender has some great copy and ways to kind of trim that stuff down, but just get all the crap out of it. Don't try to go for clicks. That's email marketing, right? That's a whole nother world of what you're trying to do there, right? There's a whole nother goal, CTA, everything. But anyways, that's my rant on that one, and it's tough.
No, it's not a rant. I told you the show's about all of this. The rants are important. Yeah. Dean does have a question. So let's get to Dean's question. Do you see email going, by the way, just as cold calling by phone has, because of bad behavior?
No, I think actually there's an opportunity, right? So whenever these things happen, there's usually an opportunity. There's like people who kind of bust through the noise. And I hate to do this, but I'll give Ryan Reisert even like a little bit of props here, where, phones are getting harder. It's hard to get the right mobiles. It's hard to do that. He sells a service where they go out and verify the phones, right? So he's kind of differentiated himself there. But you look at like email, and now you're seeing people like, even Eric and some of the other people that are even in the group that I've started with on WhatsApp, but also the other places that we started in originally. You're seeing a group of people that really figured this out, and they're really profiting on it. If I had to say like the single most area my business is profiting, it's definitely the email stuff now, which is funny because we have a full SaaS product that I feel is as good as some companies that have 150, 200 employees. So it's one of these things where I think email, it's a protocol. So you have to remember that it's not a web application. It's not something that can be, you have to understand the algorithm that they're looking for, right? They're looking for any behavior that looks to stop you from landing in the folder called spam, right? And I call it a folder that's called spam because there's no rules or definition of what that means. They just black box it, right? So you basically have to figure out how to get to that primary inbox and get that message there. And if you do figure that out, it's your own ad platform, right? You now have saved yourself a lot of money on ads. And there's really no other way to get a direct response for that. Some of the most savvy marketers in the world I'm working with right now who are starting to figure this out, that this is not just like throw your SDR, the latest SaaS sequencer, and start lighting up the inbox and getting into spam. Like there's some savvy ones that I'm working with now, and a lot of like really top marketing people that I'm talking to that are actually seeing this as a major opportunity, because it is your own ad platform, right? And these ads are getting expensive. I mean, look at the cost of an ad on LinkedIn. Look at the cost of an ad on Facebook. I mean, and the targeting, you don't even know if the person's reading the ad. You have no insight into that. With email, you do, because they respond. So anyways, I'll stop there, but that's kind of how I'd look at it.
Hope that answered your question, Dean. We're going to move into our next topic. This is another one I know we are all super passionate about. Y'all see this little pirate flag down here. We might talk about that if you're really lucky, but we're going to talk about dark social communities. I know that we're all in one together, but I'm going to actually switch to Topher. Topher, talk to us about dark social communities, what they've done for you, how important they are.
Yeah. So I've shared kind of my SaaS journey a little bit here and there, but I'll just recap it briefly. My first SaaS job was October of 21. And I was tasked with creating a playbook and standing up a full team by January of 22. And so I started scouring the internet. I had just gotten back on LinkedIn. I had been using it for years as a resume platform, and that's been pretty much it. But I started looking around, started connecting more people, and I started with Reviting's Whiskey Wednesday because, candidly, I happened to see it come across my screen. I'm like, I like whiskey. What is this? It is
Me too.
From there, I met people like Lauren and Jesse, and Jesse from Reviting, and a bunch of other people, and Tom Slocum, and all of these guys and girls that I've been able to connect with on more than oh, hey, I'd like to connect and follow your content. Like being able to have that interactive back and forth, that's really skyrocketed my understanding of sales process and everything else. I've always been good at sales, but because of the communities like this, and Lauren said it, and I have no qualms about it. I'm absolutely crushing it. And I'm on an ascension that I wouldn't be possible without the people on this call and people I've been introduced with because of those communities.
Yeah, y'all, if you're not in a dark social community, you should be exploring a little bit more. Jesse, I know you kind of run the community that Topher and I are in, that I was very blessed and fortunate. Shout out Tom Slocum for the invite. I think it was like a year ago, right? I think I'm hitting my year mark in the ship. But Jesse, talk to us a little bit about dark social. What was the point of you building your group? Because I know we talk about dark social, a lot of people pitch. Your group is not about pitching or selling. Your group is about empowerment, right?
Yeah, really it is. And what I saw is under certain economic conditions, right? There's a book on this called The Hidden Economics of Pirates, and sort of that invisible hook, or if you've ever read it. But what I saw happening was there was a trend of a lot of inefficiency in a lot of these companies, and they had been given a lot of money. And then when money starts to become harder to get and harder to do, they have to run more efficiently. And I knew that I could run these things very efficient, but I also knew that I would not do very well working at a sort of a bigger SaaS company, if you will. And because some of the tactics would be like, hey, we probably don't need this group of people, like it's some of this stuff works on automation. Some of this stuff works on, just really good efficiency in data and things like that. And I figured there's probably people out there that want these skills. So I figured as much as I can do to give away everything that I know and just give it away and not really think about it. Sometimes it can be, hard or challenging. You're like, oh God, do I want to give all this great information away that you've spent hours trying to figure out? And the answer is yes. I mean, if you just keep doing that, eventually it just comes back to you, right? And it has, right? And I think what the goal of that place is to make giving and sort of helping other people contagious and sort of create that sort of vibe in there. And now what's happened over the last probably year and a half, 2 years, is there's been other groups that have formed in other sort of areas, and it's really helped kind of empower other groups of people to help get out there more and survive in these sort of harder economic conditions. When everything's great, you know, not as many people are looking for that. But when things start to go a little bit different, it comes down. Now, a couple of the things in the group, like I wanted to make sure that we had the focus on like not just turning it into like another boys group, right? Like, because a lot of these chats that I was in, there was a lot of like just sort of the same old people that you'd see at these companies, right? The loudest person in the room, right? And I wanted to make sure. So I definitely wanted to find the right sort of leaders on the you know, from female perspective, with some women that were in there that were really coming up in leadership and things like that. So I tried to make sure that we separated, or we gave a lot of, you know, I listened to them and made sure that we didn't turn it into that, so I could keep them engaged. And what it's done, I think, over time is now people have a lot of tactics. We're giving away a lot of the best marketing and sales tactics and automation. And I think some of this stuff is really growing. And the great thing is there's really no like bar of where you got to be. You just got to want to learn. And that's the biggest thing. And this networking factor that's happened as a result has compounded over time. And that's where you're seeing some of the stuff that's happening. I mean, and we have some very famous people that are like in there now that you're, you know, some message me and they're like, hey, I'm in, I love your group. Or I'll show up on a call somewhere and they're like, hey, I already know who you are. You know, like it's a little weird, but, you know, it's sort of happened organically, which is the nice way. We haven't been out promoting it. We're not taking like sponsors and things like that. And there are other groups that are out there. There's some people in there that I really respect that run other groups. And I'm just like sort of promoting all of their groups as well, because I think the 1 + 1 = 3 factor really comes into play. But that's kind of like what the catalyst was for it all.
And the group isn't just about learning, right? But it's about contributing in some way, shape, or form. And I know that that's big for you, right? Like you have to contribute to the group to be in the group. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? And I think that you do a really good job of making sure there's a wide variety of people in the chat so that we all have something to learn and contribute.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Tanya said, is it like Fight Club where no one talks about it? Why am I just now hearing about dark social communities? So Tanya, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like Fight Club, but it is kind of like you have an elite group of people who are all coming together to help, and you want to just be mindful of people you add to that group. So you're just a little limited about how much you talk about it with other people. Also, I know that there's some people in there who wouldn't want their private opinion shared with the world, and they give their private opinions in the group. So
I think I've gone off on tirades in there, and I'm glad that it's just the people in there. Like I have gone on absolute tears about certain things, and I won't talk about it here. But
it's very addicting in there. I have to pull off. It's got to be the most addictive chat or whatever I've ever seen.
Yeah, it gave me a chance to even try out. Like, okay, I'm not that far along, but test out. Hey, does this advice work? And now we can unofficially talk about it, but I'll be joining SaaS Bros community as one of their advisors.
Yes. I had Darren and Eric on this show. Well, mainly Eric. Darren joined us for the end. Thank you, Darren, for popping in. But if y'all aren't following SaaS Bros and the McKee brothers, please go do that as well. I know Topher just gave them a little shout out. But really, it's not necessarily that we're trying to keep it gated. Like Jesse said, it's not about gating communities, but it's about finding the right one for you. So just like I'm in this community with Jesse and Topher, I'm also in some dark social recruiter communities and things like that. So there is one out there for what you're looking for, but you got to talk, you got to ask, you got to be open, tell people what you want, tell people what you're trying to do. Had I never told Tom that I was trying to network with more SaaS people and really understand everything that there was to do in SaaS, I wouldn't have gotten into this community, right? But now I literally feel like I could go be an SDR or an AE almost better than any of half of y'all. No offense, but y'all are lazy. But it's true, Topher.
It is absolutely true. You would crush it.
I'll tell you one thing that's funny is when I meet somebody who they've been talking to me for a while, and then somehow they get an invite from somebody else or whatever. It's actually really embarrassing because I'm like, oh man, I probably should have invited. You know, like it's just like, you don't always know. It's like that's the fun part is that, you know, I'll have friends like, dude, why didn't you tell? You know, like, why didn't you give me this thing earlier? Or I'm like, oh, sorry, man. You know, like,
so Dean was asking what group. Dean, this is a WhatsApp group that we're all in. It's a SaaS group specifically for people who are in SaaS. I guess
Dean's
I got to become a SaaS recruiter.
Drop me a DM. I'll send you the invite.
But drop Jesse a DM. He'll get you in there. Jim agrees. Contributing is so important. Brandy, look, Jesse, the ship has been a great place to learn and contribute. I know Sabina's in the ship. Keep the mystery going. We just kind of like let the cat out of the bag. And yes, Alexa agrees. I could be an AE or SDR. Yeah, I can. I call CEOs all day. Let me recruit for you. Okay, so I'm trying to keep us all on time. I think we're okay with dark social communities. Essentially, if you want to be in a dark social community, go find one, go talk to people, ask people what groups they're in, ask them where they learn. Like, go ask and be curious. You're supposed to ask questions as an SDR. You're supposed to ask questions as an AE. Ask questions to the people in your network that you want to learn from. And if you ask questions, you'll probably get the right answer or get put with people who can give you the right answer. But if you don't know about a dark social community, you probably haven't been looking for one. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
All right.
It's true. It is true, but it's funny. I see a lot of influence spilling into the sort of light. I know I was born in the dark social groups, but not to quote the movie there, but like, I think that's where I'm starting to see some of this stuff coming to light. So that's really good that you want that to happen, where some of these tactics and skills are coming out. I mean, just with even email delivery, just we're talking about, like, there's so many messages now on LinkedIn about it. So it's like, it is out there now. Right. So
it's getting out slowly, but eventually there'll be a new community for the next thing, right? And the next thing and the next thing. It's never going to be over, y'all. We're all going to need help from somebody eventually with something, and having a community of people who want to help you is key. All right, we're going to get into one of my favorite topics, supporting women in sales. And you're probably like, you have 2 men with you. What are you talking about? But let me just tell you all that these 2 men who've joined me today are 2 of the biggest advocates for supporting women in sales that I've ever met. When I first met with Jesse literally did so many things to help me learn, to help me just understand the space for free. Jesse is a daughter. I hope you don't mind that I said that. And one day he's going to want somebody to help his daughter the same way that he helped me, right? We need to support more women in sales. My only tangent I'm going to go off on this before I let the 2 of them speak is that if you have no females in your C-suite, you are the problem. You're the problem. It's top down. And I don't care about this. The best person gets the job bullshit. Somebody has been gated. They never even got the interview because they were a woman. We need to support more women in sales, and they need to get to the top of the pyramid so that it can be a top-down culture. All right, that's my rant. Jesse, what do you think about women in sales?
Yeah, I mean, especially in revenue organizations, really, it's really bad in venture-backed companies. It's something that, I mean, I see what I see is a lot of talking about it, right? There's just not I just look at the raw data, right? So I grabbed I went and took every CRO that's on LinkedIn, and I grabbed the ones that had venture-backed capital, where this is where the change is supposed to happen, right? This is where you start to do things that's what venture-backed capital does, right? It kind of creates that opportunity for people. And when I looked, there were 1,326 males and 207 women. And we went through it a few times and double checked it. And, I think we got the numbers pretty close. Let's say plus or minus 10 people. So that's like 87% male, right? And that's basically Series A through Series whatever F, I think it was. So when I look at that, I say, on one end, I see a lot of marketing about it. I see a lot of people that are just out there talking about it. And then I go and explore it. And I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't align up. There's something wrong here still. And I just ask the questions and I just show the data. That's all I'm doing, is just presenting the information. And I'm like, what's wrong here? This is probably the highest paid role in the company from a salary perspective, right? And why is it pretty much all men, right? Like, I don't understand it, right? I'm sure it's because, there's just opportunities haven't been created. And I also think it's happening even earlier than that, because when I look around, like, there's a lot of problems around sort of how we compensate too, right? If you think about variable comp, if you take time off to deal, to sort of raise your child for maternity leave, you're not even getting paid your variable comp in most of these companies. So it's like a 50% pay cut right away. It's like, we're not setting these things up for success. We're kind of creating more environments that, and I get it, numbers are important, experience is important, but I don't know, maybe and I think CMOs was split maybe more 50-50, or maybe even a little heavier on The others, maybe more women were CMOs, if I remember the numbers. But I just think that we're talking about a lot, but there's not a lot of action. And every time I've brought this up, the data, the actual real facts and data, right? It's like nobody can really give me a good answer except for that maybe they have more experience, but we all know what that means. So it's tough. We need to create the systems earlier. We need to create opportunities. We need to interview differently. We need to build the organizations like that, right? We need to, and a lot of it starts too with like the investors and the playbooks that they're bringing out, the founders that they're giving money to, sort of that whole world. And I think that's where it needs to start, is because that's where the biggest opportunity is, because that's where the most money is, right? And that's why you take big rounds and raise venture capital.
100%. 100%. I love the comments that we're getting. Jess V is going to go for CMO, CEO, or CRO. Jess V, you can do it. Absolutely. We all believe in you. And Adam says, the worst thing you can do to a man, present data and facts. Yes. All right, Topher, supporting women in sales is important to you too, I know. Yeah. So let's talk about women in sales. How many women are crushing it on your team?
So we have the SDR team that I just left is now completely flopped to where we only have one male. And the team lead is actually, so my quote unquote predecessor is a woman. And she is going to, as much as we broke records last year, she's a better SDR than I ever was. She doesn't give herself enough credit. And I think and my new director, who we didn't have a director of sales before, just went straight to the head of sales and marketing. Our new director is a woman, and she tries to corral us herding cats of AEs as best as possible and spend time with us, getting us to the best part where we are. Without Cindy leading the team on the SDRs and Sarah leading this team of AEs, I don't know if we'd be able to hit the targets that we're going to. And that's not just because they're women. It's because they're very, very, very damn good at their jobs. And they also happen to also be women. They give a different perspective. They tend to be a little bit more empathetic. They've helped me kind of see things through different lenses. Kim, who runs our marketing department, she's our director of marketing over there. We have a lot of women in leadership roles here. I didn't know 2 cents worth of marketing except what I used it for sales wise. She helped break down different processes and understand why we did different things. And as bad as this may sound, the maternal instinct really helps to navigate some of those dark waters of, hey, how do we get this particular personality type operating in the most efficient way for them? Most men don't care. Their exact response is, nobody cares, work harder. Yep. Where they can help kind of dissect some of the problems. And I'm not saying that only women can do that. It's just, I've seen in my experience that they tend to naturally gravitate towards that easier.
100%. I was at a networking event last night, and if any women are listening right now, please take this. I got this from Maggie Solomon, I believe, and she gave a speech, and she said in the speech when she first got into tech and she was in the room with a founder or with a team of men, she would be like, oh my God, I'm the only woman in the room. Right. And like, we kind of take a little step back as women when we're the only woman in the room.
Right.
And somebody at one point told her, women bring innovation where men don't. And it went from being, I'm the only woman in the room, to I'm the only woman in the room. Like, owning it, being proud of it. I'm going to provide solutions that none of you can. Haha. Right. Like, change your mindset too, women. Like, if you are the only woman in the room, step up, be badass, and bring more women up with you. I tell people all the time, send the elevator back down. When I'm targeting companies to recruit for, if that whole leadership page is white men, I'm targeting your company harder because I want to change the narrative at the top. Right? That's my point in targeting your company as hard as I can so that I can actually change things and make a difference for other women too. All right. We are about halfway through the show. We have a little video. I'm going to let Jesse and Topher take a little sip of water or whatever they need. So we'll be right back in about 40 seconds. everybody. We are back. We're about halfway through the show. If y'all are still watching, comment below what's been the most helpful thing so far that you have learned. Do you even care about getting to the primary inbox? Or y'all like, I don't care. Let me tell you, I reach out like once a week to people in my spam folder. I'm like, hi. I go to their LinkedIn. I'm like, your emails are landing in my spam. And they're like, oh my God, that explains it. So also, y'all, if you find a company in your spam folder that you actually care about, reach out to somebody at that company and let them know what's happening to them. Be polite, right? Like, I know most people don't even look at their junk folder. I don't know. I look at my junk folder about once a week, clear it out. But last week I had something from Apollo. Shout out Apollo. I really like Apollo. It's in my spam. I'm going to let them know. Morgan J. Ingram's newsletter in my spam. I let him know. So please just make sure. What?
I'm working with Morgan on that right now, actually.
There you go.
Yeah.
SaaS Pros, their email. It might say like, y'all, it happens to everyone. So one, if your stuff's ending up in spam, don't be embarrassed about it. Call Jesse right there. Jesse, follow him on LinkedIn, DM him. He will help you. But for real, if you're still here, if you're still following along, let us know. We're going to get into a fun topic. There will be lots of rants on this one. So just heads up, y'all, get ready for the rants. And I think, as Jesse would say, the gurus will hate this. But we're going to go right into, why is Big SaaS bad SaaS? And I think Topher, let me move all of us around. Sure. Topher's going to go first because he's not going to rant nearly as long as Jesse.
So I'm by no means the expert on this, and that's why I'm going first. So what we see, and a lot of this is global, like you can just see it in general, but what I see specifically in our space, and you can bring that out, is there are a lot of other companies that do what my company does, but they're not profitable yet, but they still took on VC money. So if you don't have the ability to use that money to improve your platform, if you're just throwing more guns with crap ammo at it, then it's not really going to work out well. And that's why we've seen over the past, we'll call it 18 months, just waves of layoffs. Seems like every quarter we're looking at another big wave and smaller ones in between. And it's because people threw money at a problem and they didn't fully foresee what the end result would be. I'm proud to say that we at Sync have been profitable since 2010, and we didn't get any backing money until 2019. So we're able to do more things with that money as far as integrations, as far as development, as far as innovations, because we have that profitability model. Whenever we bring on a new customer, it helps to go to the bottom line.
100%. All right, Jesse.
Yeah. So I think really where it's hard to watch is, you want people to learn with, obviously leverage for business comes in the form of capital and really content and audience and sort of those types of things, and code really. And when you just see situations where companies get such an amount of money and it just gets completely squandered really, over inefficient, just top down. And I think there's a lot of this sort of, they'll come out, they'll raise the round, they'll brag about the round. There's just a lot of tone deafness there, right? Like they're not really, it's a very odd thing that I still see happening and people celebrating these things. And I think you really want to try to go out there and build a business no matter what for the future and sustainability. And I started reading a lot of like even Jocko from Winning by Design and some of the sustainable growth stuff. And there's just a lot of easier ways to build a company that could be easier in the longer run too. Now, is there a point where you should be taking money and doing that? Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like, we've thought about different options, and I commend companies that do it. They have a plan, they're doing it. But the ones that are really just chasing the next round, it starts to become a real problem in the companies fast. And what happens is it really starts to impact the people in the company dramatically, because it's like anything. When you amplify something, that's exactly what money does. It'll amplify success in the same rate of how it just amplifies it. So if you're doing things well, if you're efficient, you'll do it in that same amplification. And that's really where I think companies right now that are struggling to get their next round or whatever, they could probably take a step back and say, hey, are we doing the right things? Are we sending emails the right way? You know, like that's fundamentally like, you know, if you're just like, figure that out. Like there's so much activities that people are doing at companies. And I just look, it's easier to see it. I guess I'll tell you, this is one thing. It's easier to see it when you're outside of the company, actually. So I guess that's one of the things, and outsiders can see it a lot easier, right? And you just kind of laugh a little bit about it. Now, I think it's just be responsible when you're taking a job at a company, and if they're really just talking about their funding rounds and their capital raises and things like that, that's a really big red flag, right? You can get into it, and some of the people that are getting impacted the most, actually, I'll even sort of feel bad for people that are making a really a lot of money anyways, but there's probably some good middle management or even like C-level people that are at some of these A-B round companies that are really sort of struggling internally, right? It'd be really hard for them to kind of get out of that and hit the eject button and do what I did and sort of build their own, or it would be a real big challenge for them kind of financially and everything, because they've got to a certain point in their career. Maybe they're feeling that they're a certain age and they can't learn, but that's all a bunch of crap, I think. I mean, you really, always be learning, always learn the skills, always learn how to build these systems, learn how to use automation. There's other forms of leverage your company can find other than money every time. It all starts there. And if you just keep chasing the rounds, you start to get addicted to it. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of, right? And some great companies that really their only goal is to sell one more deal so they can go raise that next round and then sell it, right? And that is not really building a business for the future. That's a really tough way to go through life and sort of do it. I mean, and I feel bad for some of the people that are trapped inside some of these companies that are doing this, because I'm sure it's very miserable watching it, as the thing kind of slowly dies.
And it's
It's
probably
just weird
miserable
watching
for the
them
employee.
operate like a booster club. Like they're literally just doing the next good thing so they can get the next check. They're going to do the next fun run so that they can get the donation. Like that's how it looks like they're operating from the outside. I mean, I understand very little about the actual process internally, but from the outside, it's like, oh, we're on Series E. I'm like, you guys have 5 customers.
Right.
Literally.
These are the ones that are really struggling right now. The ones that, and you talk, we work with a lot of companies, and the ones that have those sort of problems, there's some of them are humbled by it now, and they're trying to kind of get better. So I do, the ones that are trying that way, but God, it starts with just building some efficiency and effectiveness in your organization, right? Measuring the things that matter. Like, you don't have to measure every activity of every sales rep, right? That's not going to help you. You probably should start with, let's get your website up and running. Let's build some conversion optimization. Call Winter in the messaging. They're great, Peep and that group. Like, get that right. Get the website to hit rank and SEO, like just basic stuff, right? Like 101, you could throw the web, don't go hire a design company right away. Like, just get the thing up and running. There's plenty of templates. I see some of these websites, these SaaS websites that I see out there, and I'm like, just go take a template off Webflow. Like, there's beautiful templates in there, and they somehow think they're going to go reinvent conversion optimization. And I don't understand it. And like they'll hide their price. They'll like make everything such a mystery that nobody wants to actually talk to them. Like, it's just, I don't know, make it easy for the buyers, and a lot of other good things will start to happen to your company.
Yeah, no, there's a few things I want to point out. Both of you talked about it's different when you view it from the outside. I might take a little heat for this, but I think we all remember a company that took everybody to Morocco and then came back 2 days later and laid everybody off. Like, think about how it's going to look to people outside your organization, regardless of what you think internally, right? How you view it internally doesn't matter at that point. It really matters to your customers and your potential customers, your buyers, the people who have been supporting you and your brand. And especially if you've built some like brand evangelism and people really loving your brand, and then you do something like that, it's going to hurt you more than it could ever help you.
I know exactly who you're talking about. We literally signed with them the week before.
Okay, so they got a brand new customer, took all of them to Morocco, then laid them all out. Like, I'm sorry. I'll never get over that. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I'll say it. I don't care. Don't watch my show if you're a huge fan of them. You know who I'm talking about. I'm not a fan. I just think that was shitty. And look, Alexa agrees with you. Webflow does an awesome job, so you don't have to figure out web design. I think that Big SaaS is so consumed, like Jesse said, getting to the next level, getting to the next thing. And some of the people who are really at the top are just in it to sell it, y'all. Like Jesse said, this isn't necessarily the thing they want to do for the next 30 years. They had a great idea. Okay, I'll give you that. But they're just trying to grow it big enough to move on with their life and do something different. And if you're at a company like that, it's not horrible, but maybe like just get really good at what you're doing and keep your feelers open, right? You should always be interviewing. One, I'm going to tell everybody who watches my show that you should always be interviewing. Even if you are comfortable and secure in your job, that job could be gone tomorrow. And if you haven't interviewed in 15 years, you're going to be screwed. You should always be interviewing, practicing those skills. You should always be keeping your data about your job and your KPIs and what you're actually doing. If your job is gone tomorrow, if you're locked out at midnight, how many people has that happened to? How many people do we hear, oh, I tried to get onto my system and it was gone in the morning, right?
Don't use your work email on LinkedIn.
Do not, unless like your work is paying for your LinkedIn and you don't care, don't ever switch your work email for LinkedIn.
Just if you get locked out of your email, though, like it's hard to get back in if you need to get back in. So
yeah, shout out.
They allowed us to just associate the work email for our sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to StreamYard, because I actually had StreamYard on my work email and got locked out of that old account. I really thought that I had switched it over before I quit and got locked out of StreamYard. And thank God StreamYard worked with me to get my account back, but I would have lost all of my live streams. And it was a silly mistake on my behalf. So please, please, please be mindful of what you're doing on your company email as well. Don't use your company email to email your private email a bunch of documents or things like that. Like, be smart about what you're doing. But Big SaaS, we're not saying it's all bad. Okay. No. We're not saying it's horrible, but we're saying you got to be mindful and you got to look at the things that people are doing and their true intention behind their actions. Okay. If you guys are not, please go follow Jesse and Topher right now. Don't like click out of this live, like open a new screen because we don't want you to leave, but please go follow Topher and Jesse. And then Lead Magic is Jesse's company, leadmagic.io. I definitely want to plug them. Topher works for Sync. If anybody, Topher, let me pull you up really quick. Sure. Topher, really quick. Sync, who do you sell to?
So we sell to professional association management companies. So people that run HOAs, COAs, like they do the financials, they do the covenant enforcements. We sell to the people that have to deal with the HOA board Karens.
Okay, so if you know anybody who deals with the HOA board Karens, please direct them to Topher. Topher would love to chat with you and talk to you about Sync systems. Jesse runs leadmagic.io. So if you need help getting to the inbox, Jesse, give us a little bit about why people are going to contact you.
Yeah, so we kind of help in two areas. One area is our first product, which was the tell you who's on the website. So we have that. A lot of people are using that. You download it, put it on your website. It's very easy to put it on your website. JavaScript, you just install it. Tells you to start telling you who's on the website, anonymous, even if they're working from home or wherever. It's kind of get about 40% of the data there. So that can help you get those leads going. And then we've got some other people that are on our other service where we're helping them kind of send emails. We set up the inboxes for you, and then we also send the emails for you. So we help you with the copy, sort of more of a managed service. And what's nice about it is you're kind of, it's complementary to what you're doing now, right? You kind of help build some efficiency in your company. You're starting to see that, wow, we can actually land in the primary inbox again. A lot of the time people will use their current engagement platforms for they'll use it more for like inbound leads or like making calls and one-on-one, like people they're already communicating with. But when they're going cold and they got to get to the people they don't know and the new business, it's very difficult to do that without a multi-domain system. Really, it's going to be very hard for you, and your IT team is probably not going to set it up for you unless I can't imagine they would. So, that's where we come into play there, and just reach out to us and we can help you out there.
There you go. If somebody doesn't have a multi-domain system, if it's like somebody, hey, I work for this company, they're not helping me at all, how many emails should they be sending a day from their own personal work account?
The answer is contingent on how many their company sends. Like, so bigger companies get a little insulation because they've got a lot of good positive. It's like a credit score. So if you think about everybody in your company sending emails, You got like one group of people who are doing emails to people that are going to respond, vendors, all that. Then you've got this other group that's sales that are probably talking to people they know, customer success, people they know. But then there's this other group where we put a lot of blame on a certain group of people, which is not fair, by the way. That's actually not fair at all. But that group is instructed to go find new people. Sometimes they're sales development, sometimes they're account executives. And if you get enough complaints, so 1 or 2 complaints is bad, they want you to be under 1,000, 1 out of 1,000. And sales emails generate 1 out of 100 easy. Just by, even with the best, I mean, you could go grab lavender and all every Reggie, everything. You can put everything on it. You're still going to generate 1 out of 100 complaints. I mean, there's somebody out there complaining.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what you do, Lauren. You know what I mean? There's somebody complaining about you, right? Somewhere. We know that.
I knew I made it when I got my first post written about me on LinkedIn about how much somebody hated me. I was like, okay, I can. It's good. It's good now. We're done.
That's when you know, right? They never stop. But that's the thing is like 1 out of 100 is bad now. So if you think about the numbers, you just have to really kind of look at the ratio. But that complaint really puts you in a bad spot. And just ignore all the open click stuff. Just put that off to the side. It doesn't impact anything. There's no impact to that. There's no material impact to any of that stuff. In fact, the clicks are bad for you because they're not going to respond. And the responses, even bad responses, help your credit score on email. So That's the thing is what people don't understand. Even gated helps you. You know, I know people love gated and everything. I'm like, great. But like even gated will help you get a higher credit score. Gated is actually helping you by spamming you back. That actually helps your score. So like, you know, I always look at that as a funny one, but that's kind of the thing is like any sort of response you get helps your score. Right. So get the response, do that, continue to fight another day, set up a couple more inboxes, make your messages better, go after a better audience, and let's get back to the primary inbox.
Back to the inbox. Primary inbox, so important. Y'all, if your iPhone or Android phone, if your phone can tell you spam detected, you really think you're ending up in the primary inbox? Really? Like, let's be mindful. You think that this computer can't figure out? Come on. I'm blonde. Yeah. It's natural. And I even get this. Like, I can make a joke about it because it's me. All right. So we're going to wrap it up. We only have a few minutes left. Thank you both for joining us. I want to talk really quick. If there's anybody watching today who is looking for their next opportunity, I'm still doing free 20-minute job strategy coaching calls. So if you need an idea about, Lauren, I've been applying, I'm not getting any interviews, I'll review your resume, I'll guide you to the right direction, I'll give you some out of the box ways to go about your job search. Message me. I want to help. Just like Jesse, I'm pointing the wrong way. Just like Jesse always wants to help. Topher always wants to help. I can't help give you some like AE tips. Just Topher's for that, right? I'm not the one to message about primary inbox. That's Jesse over there. But if you are a job seeker and you need help, please let me help you. The worst thing that's going to happen is I say, listen, I'll share your post with my network. Naman's post went viral last week. He's still got interviews from that post. Okay. If you need help, ask for it. I learned that from Tom Slocum. If you need it, ask for it. So please reach out. I tell people every week, if I don't get back to you, just message us again. Y'all, if you message someone one time and then you go complain that they didn't get back to you, you need to follow up, okay? I'm very open about that. Please follow up. But last thing for both of my guests, who wants to go first? What's your fun Friday fact for us all? Who's going to go first?
I'm going to let Jesse go first.
All right, Jesse. Give us a fun Friday fact about Jesse.
Yeah. Let's see here. I would say I have a 1.5-year-old now, so she's awesome. You know, it's kind of from a life perspective, it changes a lot. She's just learning. I really hate cocoa melon and things like that, but that's the fact. I'm learning how to raise a child. So with my wife, so it's great, but it's a lot of work.
Don't ever get into Blippi. Just don't.
I know.
All right.
I actually don't mind Blippi as much. My kids are just a little bit older, but that won't be my fun fact. I won't copy Jesse. So my fun fact is my normal virtual background that I couldn't use because of my internet, not anything but the show, is what I call my happy place. It's a mountain background. It was taken at a Boy Scout camp. I grew up going there. I worked there as a teen, as a counselor. Now I get to bring my son up there. So being able to get outdoors, because my son does esports competitively. But he's only 12, so he can't monetize on it yet. So our break from that, because I'm in front of a computer and I'm in tech, and his break from being in esports is we go out in the woods. We go camping, we go mountain biking, we do as much as we can outside on the weekends, because now I have the freedom to do that because I'm not in retail management anymore.
I love that. I love that. All right, let me give you, I don't know, what's my Fun Friday fact? It's not on my LinkedIn, but I am and was and still do occasionally for private parties, but I am a bartender, and if anybody ever wants a cocktail list or something created for you, let me know. Happy to throw you some ideas, or maybe one day we could do like a virtual live cocktail making class on one of these Friday shows. Since it is a Friday afternoon, we'll have to come up with a day where we know everyone's off, but
Get me, you, and Marin on there.
there you
All
go.
three of us are former bartenders.
Marin was on the show when I first started. And really
Marin's
quick,
awesome.
I want to give a shout out to April. I've been trying to get April on the show. I doubt she's still watching, but April, come on the show. We all want to hear from you. All right. Thanks, Jody, for watching. Thank you, Chris. Tucker agrees. Party in the primary inbox. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you didn't, we'll see you next Friday with some new topics, and maybe that one will be better for you. I don't know.
Thank you.
I hope you didn't stick around this long if you didn't enjoy it. Let's just say that. But y'all, it's been real. I hope it's been real fun. I'm going to play the outro video, and we will see you next Friday. Bye.